Mr. Winfrey, Dr. Winfrey, thank you for being here today. I appreciate it. I was really interested to see that you are the author of Chapter 24, Project 2025 on the Federal Reserve. Is that correct?
That's right. There'll be a quiz afterwards.
Well, you know what? So actually, I was reading it while I was sitting here, and there's some really interesting economic theories. So I'm a bit of an economics geek, so I was interested. And one of the sub-chapters in Project 2025, Chapter 24, that you wrote talks about free banking, and it's one of the features. And you alluded to it in your testimony in terms of sort of returning the purse strings back to Congress in terms of the budget process for the federal government. But as I understand this economic theory that you're putting forward around the concept of free banking is to essentially deregulate the money market and interest and to return banking regulation to the banks. Is that correct?
So I don't actually recommend free banking. What I do is I make a series of recommendations for how to rethink monetary policy under the current system where the Federal Reserve controls monetary policy through an independent Fed, which I think is really important.
But is
I then go through
Winfrey,
a series of other theoretical
But Mr. Winfrey,
ideas.
Hold on just a second. Let me
hold on.
clarify my question. Let me clarify my question. Do you have a subchapter in your chapter that is titled Free Banking?
And what does it say at the end of the chapter, of the subchapter?
Just answer the question, sir.
It says that...
Yes, the answer is yes.
It says
correct,
that this
right?
is a suboptimal way of conducting monetary policy. I also list
Dr.
a series
Winfrey,
of
let's
other...
clarify. So Project 2025 is a presidential transition document, correct? It's the intent of this document as it was drafted was to provide a transition document regarding policies that you would hope the next conservative administration would adopt. Is that correct?
It is a...
That's what it's designed to be.
It's a book that was published by the Heritage Foundation. And when I wrote that chapter, I was employed by the Heritage Foundation. I am no longer employed by Heritage.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I want to just point out, thank you, that the stated purpose by the Heritage Foundation and the over 100 conservative organizations involved in this document is for it to provide a transition document for the Trump administration. And while I understand that our colleagues have been trying to distance themselves from it, it is the playbook that was put forward by the conservative community for the next administration. And I appreciate your clarifications this morning, but Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask for unanimous consent to have Project 2025 admitted into the record for this hearing. It's relevant to Mr. Winfrey, Dr. Winfrey's testimony.
All 900 plus pages?
Yes, sir.
All right. Without objection?
All right.
So ordered.
And I really encourage the American people to crack this book open, and you can Google it and find it and read for yourselves. You can read about free banking, about deregulating the banks, about allowing our banking system and economy to be deregulated so that they can do what they want. And we all know what the outcome of that is. We saw the huge crash that happened in 2008 that devastated our economy, wiped out people's wealth, wiped out their savings, wiped out teachers who had their retirement accounts completely destroyed, people who lost their homes, who ended up homeless as a result of it. And so I appreciate that you're bringing these ideas. I'm all for debate on big ideas, but we already have tried, and Donald Trump has tried some of these policies, and they were devastating for the American economy. I just want that to be clear. Now, I want to clear up a couple of other things. Ms. Onwuka, for Economic Opportunity Independent Women's Forum. We had another witness last week from the Independent Women's Forum. It's an organization that's also involved in Project 2025. You guys have a number of contributors, correct?
I can't speak to that, but I do know at least one person who did author a chapter, not me.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. But I do want to clarify that some of the statements that were made this morning about price gouging, and especially around the energy sector, are just unfactual. The American people know they're being price gouged. Go grocery shopping. We see it. We see it every day. In terms of American energy, the facts do not support what was stated here. We have the highest oil and gas production in American history has happened over the last several years. The reason why gas is expensive at the pump is because these oil and gas companies are jacking up the price at the pump in order to make more money. They have record profits. That is what is going on. It has nothing to do with production. So we need to actually be clear. And then, Mr. DeVore, I appreciate that you're a former House rep. That I appreciate anyone who puts their name on the line, but the statement that was made about immigrants who are undocumented taking American jobs under the legislation that we passed is a statement that Donald Trump made at a rally and is just untrue. So I just want to be clear about that. Secondly, the Inflation Reduction Act is the name that was assigned to a bill that President Biden passed by the United States Senate. That's a name that came from the U.S. Senate. So just wanted to do a little fact checking here this morning. I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman.